Hi everyone. So as we talked about last time, we are going to learn how to FOIL in this video. So before I talk about, how to FOIL and what we use it for, we should first address what is FOIL, right? Like what am I talking about when I say FOIL? So we have to know that it's an acronym, right? It stands for something. It stands for first, it stands for outer, and then inner. I'm going to give each of these their own color, and you'll see why soon. And then last. So this is an acronym for first, outer, inner, last. Now we use FOIL when we have two groups like this, so that we must multiply. So in order to multiply these, right, I can't just randomly choose which ones I multiply. I have to follow the FOIL process. So first, we'll go with our purple, which is first. So the two first things, whether they're x's or numbers, it doesn't matter. The two first terms, x times x squared. Okay, now let's go to the outer. The two outermost things here, which here we have a x and a -4. So something important to keep in mind when we're talking about this stuff is that we have to also pay attention to our signs because that can change our answer greatly, right? So this is not just a 4, it's a -4. So I'm going to get -4x. And now I'm going to move to my inner. So my innermost being the 4, +4, and x. And then we're going to move to the last. So the last two terms. So 4 and -4. So -16. And then finally, to simplify, if you watched the previous video, right, you know that we can cancel out similar terms with the same degree. So -4 and +4 just become 0. And we're left with x squared minus 16. So this is a really basic example on how to FOIL. If we want to move on to, let's see what else I have. A more complicated example. It's not super complicated, don't worry. Just adding another aspect into it. I added a negative here on the x, so we're adding another step, right? So our first, right, FOIL first, -x squared, outer, -4x, inner, -3x, last, -12. Okay, now let's combine like terms. Let's find power numbers with the same degree. A 1 and a 1. -4x minus 3x combines to be -7x. And we're done. See, foiling isn't too bad. So this is an example of, right, just paying attention to the negative and how that can affect our answers. And then finally, I added on, so this is a little bit more of a challenge problem because I added on something else, right? So this should be a parenthesis right here. Not a beautiful parenthesis. Okay. I added on a third term, right? So see, this group has 3 terms instead of 2. So you might be like, well, how am I supposed to FOIL now? Don't worry. Think of this more as distributing than foiling, maybe, but we'll add this into the video to give a challenge if you think foiling is easy already, which I hope you do. So we're going to start with this x squared, and we're going to work through every term. So the x squared has to be multiplied to the 3x and to the -4. So I'm going to get 3x to the third minus 4x squared. Okay, now I'm going to move to my next term. Has to be multiplied by the 3x, has to be multiplied by the -4. So I get plus 9x squared minus 12x. Now I move to my 4. Again, has to be multiplied by the 3x, has to be multiplied by the -4. So I get plus 12x minus 16. And those are all my terms. So what I did here differently is that I selected each term, so the x squared, the 3x, and the 4 each have to be distributed to every term in the other group. And I could do this the other way. I could say 3x and multiply it by the 4, the 3x, and the x squared. And then negative 4, multiply by the 4, the 3x, and the x squared. It doesn't matter. It's your preference, but you should get the same answer either way. Okay, so now that we've gotten all these terms, I want to simplify. So again, back to simplifying expressions, right? That's why this is important. We need it for a lot of different things. So we have one thing to the third power, so that makes that easy. And then squared, I have two terms that are squared, minus 4x plus 9x, so plus 5x squared. And then my x to the first powers cancel out, a minus 12 and a plus 12, and then just a minus 16. And we're done. So these are a few examples of walkthroughs on how to FOIL and using distributive properties to simplify expressions. So remember, FOILing first, outer, inner, last. And in my next video, I'm going to talk a bit about exponent rules. So if you were confused on how multiplying exponents was getting me things like x squared and x to the third, we'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks.